Look was.
Gina, we still got you saying something, I think. But I did the orchestra thing. But anyways, hello, welcome everybody. we're live, and in grand fashion, we are talking as we're beginning. And we're so happy to have you here with us because this really is the softer side business, and it doesn't matter. We don't need to be all staunchy or anything like that. We're here to talk about the things that really matter. Softer side of business, and today our topic is quality, and we have a great panel here today. We have Ms. Zara Altair as our +1 superhero, and Mr. Ammon Johns, and he is our, I hate to even say it, +1 sidekick, because of course we know that this sidekick and the hero, they're always interchangeable. And I have with me the very lovely Gina Fiedel. Thank you so much for being here with me to host this. Welcome everyone. I think, let's see, since we're not going to revisit a who are you thing, let's dive into why, Zara, why did you choose this quality to represent yourself?
I didn't choose quality to represent myself.
You didn't?
No, I did not.
I thought you did. Wow, Gina and I both thought that you did.
No, I chose quality as a very good business topic for the softer side of business.
Oh, cool. There's a difference,
Yeah.
isn't there?
Yeah, a different shift. You know, because I originally made the agreement with Dennis Deuce when we started the show.
Well, thank you.
That's it.
And
well, there, and the reason being that quality is an important aspect of doing business with people. It doesn't matter what your product or service is, but as a quality human being, you have core values, hashtag. Yeah, it's a very important quality for continuing and building business. So
that kind of is a good little interlude into what made you choose Ammon to be your sidekick.
These quality. Another aspect of quality is exactly what Ammon does. He pulls no punches, and I think for some people that's intimidating. But I think that the way we learn about ourselves and our business, especially when we're solopreneurs, is to really look. We cannot see everything. And when someone with wisdom says, maybe you should look at this, maybe you should try that, that's what Ammon does. That's one of his great gifts as an advisor is let's just throw it all up in the air, and some of those things are going to fall over there, and some of them are going to fall over here, and some of them are smack dab in the middle, and the middle is the go forward position. So leave those others behind. Oh my goodness, I cannot read Russian. Anybody here read Russian?
I always use the Google Translate. Do we have Michael Abbott here with us?
It looks like it, yeah.
Yeah.
I really like when he joins us because he has such a, I don't even know if this is a word, but poeticism to his speak. Does that make sense?
The structure of the language.
Yeah. Like just everything that he says when I put it through Google Translate, at any rate, I'm always like, that is so cool.
It's always a poem. Yeah.
He's talking there about not rushing, about quality often being about spending time on getting the quality time on getting quality.
Quality time on getting quality. I like that. That's exactly it. Very focused quality time. examining the core of your business and all the peripherals.
Yeah.
It's really
and it's the counterbalance to that new philosophy, which is, you know, fail fast. Is that the person who's really interested in quality says, hell, I don't want to fail at all.
exactement.
I
Exactly it. And so what's working? What's working? What is the quality that I do have? How do I amplify that quality? And then, you know, oh, look at these things. Maybe I don't need them at all. And so you're focusing on the quality. Thank you. That was a great compliment. I can't talk today. I don't know why you're having me as a guest. A great comment.
we're having you because you're quality.
Yeah, and I think a lot of business owners actually have a challenge in determining what their best qualities are and what their strongest assets are and how to kind of capitalize on those and let other things drop away rather than trying to be everything. And if we can kind of realize that this is the thing where we shine the most, this is the thing where we can give the most to it, that over there, well, you know, I can pass by, but yeah, and I think sometimes it's the thing right under our nose too. It's like there's no place like home, that kind of thing. Like people just don't see what they have sometimes.
Well, that's true, and I think that you know, when you're looking, the more you reach out for advice or different aspects of the business, the more feedback you get about what you are doing.
Right.
Making those connections with the people who have the strengths that you don't have. You know, I've been working with someone recently, and they really need web design, which is not my, you know, I just know that I can't do it, but I know that they need that functionality. And so I reached out to a web designer and said, you know, hey, take a look, what do you think, blah, blah, blah. You know, and because trying to be everything is not going to work. No one person can be everything.
So true. Yeah, we partner up with all kinds of people so that we can offer more than what our expertise covers. Absolutely.
Can we go back a little bit to the fail fast thing?
Okay.
I've tried. I feel like whenever I've heard people explaining that, I feel like the little child who's borrowing their parents' faith, because it doesn't really make clear sense to me, but I know that everyone says it. But to me, it makes more sense to do what you were saying and not even strive to fail. Why strive? Why put energy there?
You know, I've said in the past, no matter what you do right, life is what happens while you are making plans. And no matter how good you are at business, there's a high chance, there's more chance your business will fail than succeed. No matter what you do, there's more chance your business will fail than succeed through circumstances that aren't in your control. An economic downturn, a new invention comes in that changes the market. All kinds of things can happen that you cannot control, that you can't even necessarily foresee, and certainly that you can't see in time to do anything about. Businesses go bust, and you need to kind of accept that. And so there is a philosophy that it's better to try something and fail fast. If it's going to fail, let's get it over the way, fail safe, fail fast, and move on to the next thing. But I'm with you. I am also aware there are a lot of things where you don't get a second chance. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. If Einstein had put out 15 absolute terrible theories before the theory of relativity, nobody would have bothered to read it. A sniper can't afford to give a few warning shots first. There are times when
Great
you
example.
have to do it right first time. So there is a balance between the two factors, and ideally you do use both at the same time. You understand that, yeah, things can fail, and if they're going to fail, where the weak points are, let's be aware of them, look for where we're losing traction, so that before our bus goes over the cliff, we're out of it.
So, kind of one of my favorite words, or one of my favorite concepts, is dialectical thinking. Kind of sounds like we need to try to be versed in that so that we can be aware of the options and not put the energy there. It's more about the process. Does that sound accurate?
I like to think of it in terms of an analogy of pruning. You know, when you prune a shrub or a tree, you're getting rid of the extra, as it were, in order to let what remains thrive. And Michael Thomas here in the audience says refined definitions or fine-tuned directions and definitions. And I really like that comment, Michael, because that's right where we are in this discussion. So thank you.
He has some great comments. Thank you, Michael, so much. Like, in a way, kind of remind me of Terry, and I kind of wonder if there's like some sort of chef mentality where you're I don't know how to explain it. But Terry was chef as well, and he's able to put things together.
There is something to that. I mean, these are people who have to produce quality and consistency under immense pressure.
Huge pressure.
You know, sometimes, yeah, this is the first order of the day. You've got as long as you want to do it. And another time, there's 100 people all putting in their orders right now, and you better be racing those things out, and they still better be as good quality as if you had all day to do it. You know, you're only as good as the last meal you've served somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is an element to that chefs are used to, A, quality, and that, you know, your restaurant business depends on it, and B, that you have to do this under pressure, often under immense pressure, consistently. There are no excuses. People will judge the meal, not how busy you were. They won't give you bonus points for that. It's how good that meal was or nothing. Full stop.
That's what I love having you around, Ammon, because I can say something that's like a half a thought, and then like you complete it, and then you like magnify it. Thank you so much. Well, we normally have like a before, middle, and after kind of sequence to our event, but I'm perfectly fine with the way that we're going. Are you guys okay, or shall we talk about how you kind of used quality beforehand? I don't know. I don't really feel like it even has a place in this one.
I think those things will come to light just naturally in our conversation as we talk.
Okay.
So I don't think
I just want to be able to make sure that our viewers, you know, have their sense of structure if there are people that need structure.
Well, let us know, audience, if there's something else you're needing, and we'll try to address it. That's great.
I do think that the way the discussion went on the event page so far was kind of indicative of the aspects people have trouble. First, what do we mean by quality? Because there are different ways of applying this, and what we mean by quality isn't always what we say about quality either. You know, it is always quality within reason, within a budget, within constraints, rather than quality as an absolute. So what do we mean by quality? What is the standard of quality? Is it our best or is it our worst? That chef who's got to produce quality every single time is a real indication of what we're talking about. We expect his best meal every time. Consistency is key. So we've got the quality control side. And finally, how do we use these understandings that are from the first two discussions in improving our own business on the bottom line, you know, where we make more money from it?
It's interesting. on the event page, and it seems like everyone kind of looked at it from like that kind of standard way. But, well, not but. And I find it interesting because that's not the first thing that jumps out at me with quality. When I think of quality, I think of like the quality of a substance. Like I think of it more like in a scientific kind of way, something that would not be subjective.
You mean like the properties of something?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that still kind of fits in, because when we're trying to build a business, when we're trying to have customers, you know, we should be customer centric and be building something so that they can find the qualities that they're looking for. Does that make sense?
That's a great point, actually. That kind of brings in identity and character and personality and taste, style, and that's a really good thing to talk about with the other kind of quality as well, because those things have to be balanced. It's like if you're not, if what you're making isn't unique and stands out from all of your competitors, then it's just going to be mediocre and not going to fly. And so the thing that makes it special is the kind of quality that you're talking about, because that's how you bring your particular contribution to that meal or that website or that product that you're manufacturing, you know, or the way that you sell things. So it's a really cool, it's kind of like one of those double words where you can look at it from both sides, but they're both contributing to each other.
Yeah, that was one reason why I really wanted to put in the definition of it, and like all of the definitions.
Yeah.
Because there are so many different ways to look at it.
I want to look at
that
again.
But they all like go hand in hand.
And of course, the most interesting part of it all, which is always for me the thing with words, and why I always love to study the roots of words, the intersections, the unspoken semantic glue that holds all those different meanings together in one word.
Yeah, exactly.
Why did this one word go in all of these different directions? What's the common link? And that's when you really get to the heart of what quality means.
I was
I'm
looking
for
at definitions of quality the other day, and one of them was fitness of purpose, and that was in a business perspective, the fitness of purpose. I'm going to read this in a minute here. But then on the other hand, in the same definition, it said quality is a perceptual, conditional, and somewhat subjective attribute and may be understood differently by different people. And so I think that's true. So we have a sort of nebulous, you know, each person in the audience today is going to have their own semantic cluster of what quality is for them. And Denver Prophet is going to volunteer some.
Yeah. Pull this up, because I'm going to eviscerate him for claiming that McDonald's produces quality burgers. Ever. Never mind every time.
I want to read Denver's comment. He says, quality should be, Denver, that's a conditional verb. Quality should be defined by written standard operating procedures. Every employee should be following a set method that you have defined and refined over time. McDonald's does this. Those high-tech machines kick out a quality burger every time.
See, I'd swap the word there for satisfactory. Now, if we were doing a season about satisfactory in business, McDonald's would be a great answer. You know, it's what it says it is. It's cheap, fast food.
Yep.
It satisfies its criteria. Quality, no. And the other thing with quality control, which we kind of touched in the discussion, is, look, A lot of the time when we say quality, what we mean is exceptional quality. If you make the rule this quality, then nothing at that level is exceptional. That's standard. Exceptional quality has to be better than your average. Right?
I totally agree. You know, and then we have Robert Musil with the Man Without Qualities, and that character had lots of qualities. But it's, yes, I think for the purposes of today's discussion, Ammon, I'm going to agree with you. I think, Denver, that this is my take on this, that written standard operating procedures are a really good thing for a business, especially when there is more than one person involved. And they grow directly out of the business plan and the direct experience of the business, whatever it might be. And that those standard operating procedures, just like the business plan itself, are re-examined and re-examined. And Ammon is saying consistency and standards.
The written stuff gives you standards, it gives you consistency. Remember how we said that a top chef has to produce the same quality? You're judged by your worst, so you've got to bring up the bottom level. And do you know what? I think this is so true in most things in life. If you want to judge a civilization, look at its lowest echelon. Mm-hmm. You know I'm a history buff, so a very quick one here. A lot of people talk about the Roman Empire for the aqueducts and the sanitation, and oh, they had hot water running in the villas. Yeah, for the rich. If you want to know which was the most advanced ancient empire, I will say the Minoan Empire every single time, because when they've done the excavation, they found running water, full indoor sewage for the fishermen's huts. The lowest quality of life there had these things, and that's how you know this was a real civilization with those things. Because otherwise, you know, what can some of the sheikhs in countries where they've got terrible despots in charge, but the richest, they're living a wonderful life. Is that how we measure their civilization? By how the richest live? Or is it by how the poorest are treated? In which case, you know, we all need to look at our own countries a little bit harder and say, what is our quality of life? What is our lowest standard here?
Oh, yes, that is quality of life. And Ammon, I just want to tell you that Katama was in Gnosis today. Many pictures on that other platform. Wow. Yes.
I was listening to Dylan Moran. I love Dylan Moran. He's like one of my favorite, other than Eddie Izzard. I would say they both are like some of my favorite comedians ever. But Dylan Moran's like latest comedy special, he was talking to a London theater, and so he's talking to a London audience, and he's like, "You guys have everything, and yet you're still bombing nations that have nothing but sand." It just, you know, it makes you think. Like, what are we really doing?
Sand is a really important building material. You know, how are we going to build skyscrapers, if we don't have sand to make the cement and the...
I suppose.
Besides which, England, we got this terrible thing of erosion on our coastlines. All the sand keeps getting washed away. Sand is big business here.
So maybe that's why you guys do that.
Exactly.
So it's like
it's not about the oil, it's about the sand.
Have you ever thought you can catch more flies with honey than you can vinegar?
Yesterday, Doug, my husband, was driving through a neighborhood near where we live, and we are having a terrible drought here, and a water main broke, and everybody was out in the street with buckets, getting buckets of water and throwing it on their lawns, because we can't, of course, all our lawns are dead. And it was just really interesting to just imagine really intense water going down a street and people trying to to tame it and claim it for themselves because they're just so desperate for it.
One of the things that really surprises people about this country, England is famous for its rain, and yet we have droughts almost every summer because the population density, the amount of people needing water in any specific location is immense, and for the water in it, we kind of have to borrow. London is lucky; it was sitting on a natural aquifer. There's a huge underground lake. There's clay soil under London, and this huge natural reservoir. But they've pretty much emptied it.
And those don't repair.
Reservoir,
that's it. It's done then.
So
it will slowly, but 1,000 years.
Wants to bring it back to business, and which is the focus of the show. And I just want to do one little note for people in the audience. I'm so sorry. Katama is my daughter, and she is in Crete right now. But the reason I mentioned it to Ammon is we all met together last November in Brighton. So he knows Katama. So Denver Prophet says, so bringing this back around to business, the quality of business also depends on the quality of how you treat the lowest of your employees. Oh boy, hear, hear.
Yeah, and one more than that, it also depends on how the lowest of your employees is seen by people. If your cleaners leaving your premises are rude to somebody, they're going to treat your company has done that. Everybody who works for your company represents your company to anybody who knows that they work there. And one of the things I've always said is, look, social media policies are all well and good, but everyone who works for you is on Facebook. Everyone who works for you may be posting all kinds of things, and maybe you should be slightly aware of, look, are they saying that they work for you? Is this listed on their profile? And then they're posting very questionable images all the time. Be aware that, these days your reputation is on your weakest link, your lowest employee. Michael said much the same thing there. As a chef, with the kitchen, the way that the food lines are done, you're as strong as your weakest link. It's your weakest link that's always the thing, and I would say that's
bring that up. Yeah, it's so true. The number one factor I express to every one of my cooks is that we are only as good as our weakest link before anyone reflects on how great we are. Great point, Michael. Thank you. And then Fadanas has a question. She says, it would be interesting to give an example of quality control for a small business online. Just a suggestion. And Fadanas, let me respond, and I know Ammon's going to have a lot to say about this, but in some ways it's exactly the same. That you're starting with your plan, and you have it written down. So if there are 10 people on a board looking at it, or one person, you as a business, looking at it, you write it down because things are going to change, and to control the quality of your business, you want to re-examine that at least quarterly. At least quarterly. And it's amazing what happens when you do that, because if you're paying attention, because you go, oh, I think I need to change this, or shift the focus, or whatever it might be. And also that even as a business of one, that you do have procedures in place. I know, for example, for me, I have writing procedures that I keep. I use a program called Scrivener for writing, but I keep in the research section. I have a list of procedures for going through writing an article, and I put in there lists of words that I'm going to use. Before I've written a word, I have what I call my word clusters, and those are, they're two sets often overlapping. Oh, there's Imran. We were just talking about this morning. Two sets overlapping. I have a list of emotional words and I have a list of keywords. So, and I get those all because it's just like any research, I'm probably going to be using maybe 20% of those lists, but it's still part of my system. And I have the system written down so that when I go through and I go, oh, the article's done, and I go, whoops, boy, I haven't run it through Hemingway yet just to see how the sentences go. So I'm giving that as an example, but that even for a one-person business, the structure, the overall structure is really the same. It's the plan, work on the plan, revise the plan. It's get your systems in place so that, you know, if you have a busy day, and your systems are written down, and you say, okay, for me, it's, you know, time to, you know, post the post, and I haven't done everything on my list, it's not going to be as fine a quality as something that really has gone through the whole sifting process. So I think it's really important, and I think that Kenneth Manessy, if you want to check in with someone who's really strong on going for yourself and getting a plan in place and revising the plan and getting your systems and structure in place, he's a good touch point for that. So Ammon, yeah, I'm sure you have much more to say about that as the one-person online business.
Before you do, I just want to say I love that you brought Kenneth into it. He is totally quality. He was the first person that ever encouraged me to start writing, and so I absolutely adore that you brought his name into it. Okay, take it away, Anne.
Well, and another thing is if you're just beginning thinking about these things, I call him the living sound bites. I mean, he really speaks in memorable phrases, so it's easy to understand what he's saying.
Yeah. Oh, and he has like a million kids. So like that probably has something to do with it. Like he knows how to talk to people because that need to hear like that just have like an attention of a gnat because kids have like an attention span.
That's how sound bites work.
Yeah, so, perfect.
And that way, I think he's a very good place to start when you want to think about getting systems in place for yourself as one person online. Okay, let's let Ammon talk about this. I really want to hear what he has to say.
I agree with you about Kenneth. You know, he's very good at specific systems. But I say, first take that step back and understand what we are talking about here. What we're talking about is the things you say no to. And this is always so important in business. It's something that Vin and I were talking about on our marketing show. The first thing that defines your business is what you do not do. And your quality is where you say, I do not do anything less than this. That's the first step of defining your quality. This is not acceptable, is what we're saying. And that's the very first place you start. What's your minimum level? And set it. And from then on, no excuses. No matter what, no matter how tempting, no excuses. There is no way you ever let anything out below that standard, below that quality that is your lowest quality offering. And the main thing there, regardless of the tools, regardless of anything else, is to check. Am I happy with this? And no assumptions, and no lying to yourself, and no excuses to yourself. None of that bias, well, I know I had a terrible week this week, and it's okay because I know I had a terrible... Your customers don't care. Mm-hmm. You have promised a minimum level of quality. You deliver it, or you go away. It's that simple. There are no excuses. And if everything goes wildly off the rails and you can't deliver that quality, it's better to deliver nothing except a promise and their money back and an opportunity to buy it. Look, we couldn't do it. Here's your money back. We are still working on this. We do promise to resolve it within this time, but we're giving you your money back now. If you choose to go with the solution because we've messed you up, we'll give it to you at half price. Now, there's a much better chance, A, they understand your honesty straight away, and you've given them the money back, and you've apologised, and they understand that that is hard to do, and it is hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you've now given them the chance to buy it. Do you know what? The next, they're hoping you're going to make a mistake in future. It saves them money.
I'm really glad. I'm really glad that you in the way that you started this, Ammon. I'm really glad that you did, because I do think that it's really important. Systems and plans and quality checklists, all those things are great, but they're only going to serve you or your customer as much as you're willing to do that self-reflection. And there really is a lot of intuition involved, a lot of gut feeling, a lot of just sort of sensing and improvisation that has to happen kind of on top of the foundation of all of those plans. You know, as we know, the best laid plans. And if you're not having a relationship with those plans on a human level, then you're not going to be really in touch with what you're putting out. Because it can be kind of easy to check things off and not really have a real awareness of the level of quality of those things that you're checking off. So things have to feel right also. And, you know, that's not a touchy-feely thing. That's a perception thing. And your customers are also human beings, and they have perception as well. So I just want to throw that in there. It's a nice combo that the two of you just made.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it really is as simple as that. Where we start is, this is my minimum standard. Anything below that, for any reason, I will not put out there. I will not put my name to. I will not accept. You know, this is our standard, and it either reaches that bar or it doesn't. And when we talk about raising the bar, that's what it means. It means from then on, nothing under that bar comes out of your company, because then people know if it's got your name to it, it's at least that standard.
And it's always worth taking the time. If something takes a little bit longer, it's completely worth it. It's never not worth it.
Yes, and I think there's one more thing to that, because it's sounding like you're sitting somewhere in a little bubble, you know, reviewing your quality standards, but there's a customer on the other side of it.
Right.
And I think it's really important to communicate with them and bring them along, because I know that, just as Ammon said, you know, if something is happening, maybe you're ill and you just physically cannot deliver at a certain time, if you tell your customer right away and say, listen, I'm really sorry, I have the flu, and, you know, I thought I would be doing X today and I'm not doing it, can we ask them, you know, can we readjust the deadline or whatever it is that you're doing with your client? But you have to bring them on board with what's going on, because I believe that the more you communicate with your clients and customers, the more they perceive your quality. You're not going to do something slipshod because 8 hours of work disappeared and you're kind of going this, oh, well, I did this part yesterday, so I can just shoot it along and they'll never know. That doesn't work. That just doesn't work. And then Hart, I love this. Hart says, the best way I have found is the 4 It's based of ISO. It holds all responsible and allows for change. So I was just talking about change. If you say it, do it, be able to prove it, and if it isn't working, be able to correct it. I like those 4 It's. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that too.
And it's very similar. There's an old saying that help is defined by the recipient. Your business quality is defined by those who buy it and how satisfied they are with it. And if people are dissatisfied, they got the wrong expectations, well, who decided, who let them have those expectations? Who didn't manage the expectations of those? It's still you. It's still your fault. So understand, when you've got a dissatisfied customer, you always owe them an apology, no matter how ridiculous it is that they're dissatisfied. Still understand that they are, and they're genuinely dissatisfied, and you should be genuinely upset about that. Not devastated, perhaps, but you should be looking to correct this in future. Managing those expectations, making sure that you are getting the right customers, the people you can help, and not people who will sink money in, who had ridiculous expectations. It was never going to work for them. Of course your business couldn't do it, no business could, but do you know what? You still took their money. You still delivered the promise that you were going to make things better for them in doing that. And that is another kind of quality control, which I think goes to Vanessa's point about outcome-based quality. At the end of the day, your quality is defined by how would your customers rate you. That's the ultimate test of quality.
Yeah, and it's always better to under-promise than to over-promise.
Isn't that true? I worked in a couple of industries where over-promising was the standard, and I was always so incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Or it was hard.
It's impossible to build any kind of layer of trust if you're never coming through on your promises, and that just completely goes by the wayside.
Ammon was spot on. It's not that you're never coming through. Well, who's going to hang in with you while you're never coming through? It's the very first time you don't come through.
They're gone.
Don't wait for the never nevers. That's that's a never never land. It's if you're not coming through, you better have a good explanation, and you better be bringing your client on board with why it's not happening the way it was originally planned, and to keep that in mind. And all the little things that we use, like calendars and task lists and the like, those are aids in helping us accomplish multiple tasks. But the bottom line is, you deliver, and you deliver results, and you deliver what you said you would deliver. I
kind of want to shift this a little bit. How do you, just because I'm such a newbie in all of this, how do you find quality clients?
Great
by
question.
Being a quality offering. What you're offering determines who it attracts. People don't generally come to me for $10 SEO. They know instinctively that's not where I'm aimed. I am that little bit more exclusive, and I don't get a lot of people wasting my time with can I pitch for things where it's obviously not a fit, because everything I do says what I do. They understand that. I think sometimes people are a little bit reluctant. They maybe worry if they're at the right level to use me, when you know what, yeah, almost certainly you are. But I prefer, for me personally, I prefer a client who is confident and knows what they want, and then approaches me and asks. I'm going to get on better with those because they've got to that stage. And does that mean I'm going to get less of the first-time buyers and things? Yes, of course it does. Does it mean there's a lot of small businesses out there I'm not helping? Yes, of course it does. But
so you're already established, though.
Yes, but then so if you're thinking about that, you do have to set your standards. And somebody says, can you? I just had this situation happen a few days ago. A very old, very dear friend. And he said, oh, I have, this friend of mine, and I need to help him with marketing, and, can you take a look at his website and his, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. And, he wanted me to help. And I said, I can't do that. I mean, it was one of those impossible situations. And so, he went away, and, and 2 days later he said, okay, I understand that. Could you do a couple of hours of consulting and maybe point us in the right direction? And I think you always have to be aware of that. But if you're starting out, Kristin, then you really have to know what your standards are. And I think it's really hard, it's so tough in the beginning when you're starting out, to know what your standards are, set reasonable pricing expectations for yourself, and to not go below those. Right?
Ever.
Oh, you know, oh, it's work. Oh, of course I'll work for $9 an hour. You know.
The thing is, you've got to show what you do.
Yeah.
You know, you easily see what I do. You see the way I think about things, the way I talk about things, the way I can, you know, see a problem and come up with solutions. It shows what I do, so there's no mystery there. And I think that when you're starting out, that's exactly what you've got to do. Show what you do. And then when people have a need for somebody to do that, they've seen you do it, they know you're available, they will then approach you. So that's certainly one of the things.
Yeah, and I'd like to describe a little bit, just on a practical sense, Kristin, of what we do. And that's, we start with an initial phone call, which I consider to be kind of a qualifying phone call, where we're kind of getting a feel for each other on both sides, and whether or not we can come together as a team, and whether or not we can collaborate with each other on whatever the project may be. And then we go through a process of discovery. So there's a lot that happens prior to ever signing a contract with someone. And there are tremendous numbers of opportunities to say, you know, this isn't a good fit, or this isn't going to be right. And you can feel it. I mean, it's person to person. So you can feel it, even if it's a committee or a group within a company or a nonprofit, depending on who you're giving the services to. You can create for yourself in your processes, your planning, and your procedures ways to kind of cull out the clients that you do not feel are quality, that are not going to help you reach your potential, that are not going to appreciate what you personally have to offer. So you can take things in steps. It doesn't have to be kind of an instant quick buy on your side as well as their side.
So say you have someone who approaches you, and I don't want to talk about like the more subjective quality definition, but more of the quantitative definition of it. Say they possess certain things that are offsetting to others.
It's not about others, it's about you and your client.
Okay.
And so you have to make the determination, do you want to do work for this person? They may
What if you really like this person, like a whole lot, like on a personal level, but you know that like other people are just like, oh, I don't want to have anything to do with him. He's like such a negative influence, and you're like, but he has such potential. If he could just get over this one little thing, then he's amazing.
That's see, you're putting an overlay of personal subjectivity on making a business decision.
So you think that that's wrong? You shouldn't do that?
When it's business.
I'm going to kind of disagree. See, I don't think it's about you and your client at all. It's not. As a worker, you are judged by your work. And people don't care whether it was a good client or a bad client. They care how good the work was. The person who employed Leonardo da Vinci to paint the Mona Lisa may have been the nastiest piece of work that you ever met in your entire life. It doesn't matter. What matters is the quality of the work. And I think this is always the thing. When you are starting out, the most important thing is going to be your portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
The quality of work you can produce and how you look back on the work you've done, either with satisfaction or dissatisfaction, is what matters in those early days. Ahead of whether you got paid well or not. Don't take a client that you don't feel good about the work for because you need the money.
Right.
You'll never feel good about it later on. And at the same time, you're struggling and you don't really want to, give too much leeway on this. Look, if you really want to do this thing, then even if you're not getting the full money you would like, negotiate, do a pro bono job, that is done then the way you want to do it because you've bought more autonomy, that can be great. One of the things we used to say back in the days of Create Site was, to web developers, everybody's a web developer at the time it seemed, go out, find some charities, do some work that you believe in, build a portfolio for free where you're going to feel good about having built that site. Help friends, help charities, help local causes.
We did a lot of that in our early days.
Yeah, and it's surprising the connections that you can make doing that, because the person you did this work for free, he knows people. And people will ask, where did you get that site? That was fantastic. Where did you get that work done? That was fantastic. And sometimes the work you give away for free can lead to a dozen really excellent paid jobs. And as for liking clients, disliking clients, I often find that my best work has been for people I absolutely hated.
Really?
And it's the people you like where that can actually get in the way, because you're taking the job because you like them, it's influenced you, and really, if you hadn't liked them, you probably wouldn't have taken the job in the first place.
So what do you do with the whole association thing? Like, you're known by the people that you associate with.
I was just going to mention that very word. Yeah, you need to make choices. I mean, it's important to be thinking about who you want to be associated with when you're building your business. And you may love somebody, think they have great potential, but not want to publicly be associated with them. It all depends on what your business is also, because there are obviously so many things that you could be doing where nobody would ever know about the association, and then there are others where it would be way up front who you're associated with. And I suspect that in some of the work that you do, that would be the case. So you just need to make those choices.
Trying to kind of help them change their reputation, because perhaps someone's reputation has been spoiled by one factor or another, and so, but they're on the mend. I like that term. They're on the mend. But it's really a lot of putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
So I guess you kind of just have to pray that people respect you. I don't know.
And it's hard to be all things all the time. I mean, we were talking about this earlier. You base your business a lot on what you don't do and what you're not willing to do. And define who you are and the quality level that you produce.
I think once you start getting to the moral questions there, you start to become less professional, though. If a lawyer only wants to represent angelic clients, he's not a very professional lawyer. He's not a very good lawyer. You shouldn't accept a lawyer like that. And likewise, if you go to your doctor and he says, well, have you been eating a really healthy diet? Because if you haven't, I'm not going to make you better. That doesn't make him a good doctor. Did you maybe get yourself ill? Were you out in the rain again? Well, I'm not treating you. You asked for this. A doctor doesn't worry about whether he's saving a really great human being over whether he's saving, a bum.
But it's still okay to make certain moral decisions and judgments. I mean, there are definitely certain circumstances in which I would not want to help promote a company that was doing things that I, really had trouble with and just couldn't live with myself then if I was helping to market them. So yeah, I mean, and I can afford to do that at this point. And I'm lucky that most of those kind of people don't come to us anymore. But in the earlier days of our company, that did happen a few times, and it does not feel good. And there's always somebody else to work for. So
I have worked for some products I really don't like much. Obviously, I've said before, in my early days, I worked for the adult industry, I worked for the casinos, because those were the people who bought SEO. They were the first ones to get into. I didn't mind the adult stuff so much, but casinos, I don't gamble.
Yeah. And I'm not talking about liking and disliking. I'm talking we had a client who was really bigoted, and that was really, we needed to terminate that relationship when we understood more about him. Things like that. More of a moral kind of judgment.
Isn't that where we were kind of going? And you were saying it's okay when you can afford a moral judgment, as long as it's not a recognised bigotry. It's okay to be a bigot.
Yeah.
You know, we don't like you because you sell cigarettes. It's just as bigoted as we don't like you because you're Jewish.
Yep. Especially
we just got into some interesting territory there. Maybe we don't want to do that today because
Does you off the rails?
That's from a business perspective, and I agree with Ammon. You know that the clients that you choose, and I want to emphasize the word choose, to work with, is your call. And yes, you can work with some people who are not so pleasant, even at that level, not so pleasant. But the work that you do is the work that you do. You know, and to bring in a lot of moral overlays on your business may feel very noble from a personal standpoint, but it doesn't necessarily further your business.
So perhaps
understood.
It might be something that would be wise to put in, like your about page or something where people are going to be able to find whether you kind of follow more of the Hippocratic kind of oath sort of thing applied to your business. Like we take clients not based on anything blah blah blah, or if you say this is my criteria.
You always say this is my criteria.
I think Lee has got a great one here. He says, this is the way you phrase it. If I don't like you or your product, I'm not going to be able to put 100% into the project, and therefore I'll not take it on. This is the one thing I do. I do not take resellers. I don't take affiliate sites. I like to deal with original products, not, company number 352 selling the exact same thing. I don't do resellers because my unique thing is playing on the brand strengths, on playing on what's unique about the product. And if this product isn't unique to my client, if everyone else can sell exactly the same product at the same price from the same manufacturer, what am I supposed to be, adding on to this? It's very tricky. So that's the one thing I don't do. I don't take resellers. And that's fine. And that's the basis of it. It's not that I disapprove of them morally. It's not that I don't want them to succeed in business. It's that doesn't play to my strengths in marketing, and therefore I think they can get a better provider, somebody who's probably cheap and is just going to do the SEO tricks that they obviously want.
Right.
It's just going to be that they're the first one found instead of the market leader.
I'd like to end because I think we're coming to the end of our time here.
Yeah, before we do, I really wanted to pull up also after you do this. Okay, go for it.
The question, can we look at quality as the expected outcomes?
Mm-hmm.
I hope
that was the point I was addressing earlier when I said, measure it by what the customer says is quality. How would the customer rate you? That's your actual quality score. Not what you know, not what you think, but what the actual market has determined. Because if they're not detecting it, or you're not selling to the people who recognize the quality, then do you know what? It actually doesn't count, because business is about your market.
Wow, okay, I can't pull up, my comment tracker is not working. I apologize, guys. But I really like what Denver Prophet Jr. is saying, fat cheeks. It's kind of, it kind of contrasts a little bit here, but it just shows that there are different qualities to people that you work with. He says, I'd rather be poor than work for someone who goes against my moral fiber.
He'll probably get his wish.
Yeah.
And I also absolutely love what Hart GA just said. You need to remember that the clients you choose are also the clients your employees have to work with, which will weigh in on quality. Great comment.
And I also think that when we produce our best work, we attract the clients that are right for us.
Yep.
Exactly.
When we're authentic, when we're sincere, when we're good communicators, when we're producing quality work, and we're doing that in a way that's unique to us, we will attract the clients who are right for us.
Exactly.
Sort of like like
Where
attracts like.
Yeah.
I was trying to get to earlier where I said what's really important is your portfolio,
Right.
your track record, what
Right.
you've done.
Your
Every
track record.
you take on, is this possible to be your masterpiece? Is this something you're going to want to show to people as an example of your work? Not necessarily because of what you're selling, but because of how you're selling it. Not because of what the site says, but of how the site is designed and how it moves you and how it's targeted. Are you proud of the work you've done? And if you're not, don't take that job.
I love that. Are you proud of the work you've done? And you can base pretty much everything on that.
Kind of comes down to integrity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the word I would put closest as a synonym for what we usually mean by quality.
Yes.
We mean integrity. We mean that it all holds together. Because that's why quality is within a price. We expect a thing that does what it says it does, that's within the price it says it's in, and that is going to be sturdy enough and fit for purpose. Integrity, that it holds together.
Yeah.
Well, Zara said a couple minutes ago that she'd like to kind of wrap this up. So,
aren't we at an hour?
Yeah.
I think if we are. So let's go around and have final thoughts and shameless self-promotion.
You do that so well.
All right, let's start with Ammon.
I'm British. I don't do shameless self-promotion. We're terrible at that. We say, excuse me, terribly sorry to bother you, but would you mind paying some attention to this thing I've done? That's about as close as we get. You can catch me on Bill and Ammon's Bogus Hangout this week. We've got a hangout coming up on Wednesday, which I'll let Gina tell you about because she's even more excited about it than I am, and I'm mega excited about it. And other than that, I'm everywhere on G+ these days. I don't know how I manage it, but I just seem to keep turning up. I'm fed up of seeing myself. You know.
Any final thoughts on quality?
I think we pretty much nailed it. But yeah, the integrity is really what we're going for. It's what we mean by quality. And if you don't think of how quality fits within the overall picture, what the customer wants, what you want to produce and be known for, that it's about the honesty of your business and the integrity of your business, that's where you measure quality.
Thank you. All right, Gina, you're up.
That was perfect, Ammon, and I wouldn't change a word of that. So that's my parting thought, too. And yeah, I'm really excited. Next week we are starting a new series, a new HOA series with John Moore and Marilyn Moore, and Ammon is going to be one of our first guests along with Mike Bays and Mary Iannati. Hope I said that right. And we're going to be talking about your website as a business asset. So it's actually kind of a perfect, I didn't even pair that with this today, but it's a really nice companion with today. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm also really excited about a project that has just come to completion. I've been honored and lucky enough to contribute to a collaborative book about social engagement. And that will be released at the Social Media Today Social Shakeup next week in Atlanta. And Randy Milanovic is our spearhead, initiator, band leader. And if you're interested and want to follow up on that, I'm sure he's going to be, we're all going to be promoting it a lot, but he's kind of the guy in charge. So I'm excited about that. Thanks, you guys. Thank you.
Any final thoughts on quality?
I just feel like Ammon just crystallized it so beautifully. I don't want to paraphrase. And I really do agree about integrity, work that you're proud of, anything that you're happy to have your name on, and who you want to be associated with, what you want to be associated with. I know Ammon wasn't saying the who part, but all of that together I think was a great definition of quality, and it really can, it's a deep topic. I mean, there are a lot of different little facets that go to it, but I think that was a great umbrella. So
thank you.
Good enough for me. Good enough.
Well, I'm going to let you go, Zara, and then I'll conclude it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm here on Google Plus, and I have my weekly show, the Midweek Zap, on Wednesdays at noon Pacific Time, on 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and 8 p.m. on British Isles. And quality, I agree that integrity is the closest synonym you can probably think of in representing yourself and in working with your clients and in the final resultant product that you have, whatever that might be. I think we've kind of talked a lot about doing social media and SEO and that sort of thing, but whatever your product is, that you create integrity in your business, even if it's a mediocre, okay hamburger. You know, that's the thing that you have, and you do that well. So, and that in itself is something. So, integrity.
Woo! For the win. For the win. Really cool stuff, guys. I always want to put a plug in for the Lend One Hand community, because that's where my heart is. If we are always striving to have one hand up to those who can bring us to another higher place, and then one hand down to bring everyone with us, then we'll be creating a kindness economy. And so I have that. Other than that, Bill and Ammon's, woo! I'm so excited about your guys' shows next week. And for the next network roundtable, we have Stephanie Sims and CLB, Kristin Elbowen, talking about prosperity. So that's going to be an interesting show, I'm sure, because as a little hippie girl, I have a lot to learn about thinking about prosperity. It's an odd concept to me. I'm more comfortable in sandals and saying, I'm a bum. But yeah, so I'm excited about that. And as far as quality, I'm happy to put my name on the show, being with all of you. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. And this concludes our Network Roundtable show on quality. Bye, everyone.
Bye.